Okay, it's 10 o'clock, so we're going to start. On behalf of Director Turner, good morning and thank you for joining us today. I'm Jessica Vasquez, Program Coordinator of the Minority Business Development Agency. This 10-week Small Business Academy is twofold. First, we wanted to provide you as a small or startup businesses with one-on-one business training and coaching you need to further grow and develop your business. Second, we want to help you eventually obtain government contracts. As you know, this webinar series will be recorded and you can view it on our YouTube channel within the next 24 hours. After the presentation, we're going to open it up for Q&A, so please type your questions in the chat. With that, I would like to acknowledge the MBDA team on today's call, and they are Tanya McGilbra, our business advisor, and our presenters for this series, Ms. Joni Hall and Mr. Austin Tenette. Take it away, Ms. Joni.
All right. Thank you so very much, Jessica. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad that you guys could join us today. Before I move forward, I would like to introduce today's question. When you have a question, he's going to provide the answer. My partner in business here, Mr. Austin Tenette. Mr. Tenette, you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you very much. My partner in all things MBDA, Miss Joni Hall. So Austin Tenette, for those of you who have not been on previous sessions, I'm an advisor in the MBDA organization. As Jessica had mentioned, we're here to provide technical assistance to startup and growing businesses. I spend a lot of time in working with the Houston Community College in their various entrepreneurial initiatives. And when I'm not with either MBDA or HCC, I work as a business coach, focusing on leadership efforts and growth strategies. Thank you, Ms. Hall.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Tenette. We will discuss at the end of the presentation how we do our office hours, how you can get in contact with us. If you do throughout the presentation have any questions, you are more than welcome to provide them in the chat. But I do want to say today, we are going to talk about building those capability statements. Capability statements, they're lean and mean, they're precise, and they get right to the point. That is what this presentation is going to be today. Today, what I've done, we've done this presentation in the past, but I made it a little bit leaner because we want to make sure that we're hitting the most important points to talk about the statement that represents you and your business. Next slide, please. All right. Promotional or marketing statement. An advertisement about your skills and services. Concise information about your business elevator speech. A 1 to 2 page document that is a glance or a snapshot about your business. These statements speak to what we call capability statement. It's your company's resume. So the purpose is to communicate the potential business partners, stakeholders, suppliers, customers, even employees about your business and your capabilities. So let's talk about the goal of today. Why are we here? Why are you here? Today's webinar, the information will help in creating a powerful capability statement and open doors to contracting opportunities in federal government. This document is the key to building relationships with important decision makers in governmental contracting, providing them with a concise description of the goods and services your business can provide and a consistent reminder of who you are and your business. When it is properly written, a capability statement is a winning tool that sets your company head and shoulders above your competition. Next slide, please. So let's talk about the components of the capability statement. We're going to talk about identity. We're going to talk about services. We're going to talk about operations. And the most important key to disposal that I call why you. And then we're going to talk about experiences. Next slide, please. So the first component of your capability statement is identity, who you and your company are. It is important when you are talking about your identity that you target Again, some things that get right down to business. The name of the primary contact. If you have a business and you have a business partner, don't list your partner if they're not the primary contact. It should be the person who is going to get back with people or businesses when they have questions or want to do business with you. You should have your address listed, phone number, email, and your website. It is amazing if you can provide images. When you provide pictures, that triggers your business with a buyer and it links your business's identity. It focuses buyers' attention. It makes your statement memorable and it speaks to businesses as the visual senses. You also want to include your tax ID number, your DUNS number. Now, the DUNS number is the Data Universal Numbering System. That is unique. It's a 9-digit code. It's an identification number. And you also should include your business's social media information. Now, if your company or business has won any awards, received any accolades, or has any notable accomplishments relating to that particular agency that you're trying to work with, you should list them if you have the space. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, the second component in creating the capability statement is services and capabilities. You want to make sure that you display services that you're capable of offering. You also want to have some important indicators there as well. Very important that these things, you have them, that they're not left off. It's your NIGP codes, NACE codes, industry served certifications. Next slide, please. So you want to include NIGP, which is the National Institute of Governmental Purchasing Commodity Services. This code is universal taxonomy for identifying commodities and services in procurement systems. So they have different combinations all the way through a 11-digit code that they use as identifiers. Also, federal agencies use the North American Industry Classification System, NACE, to classify businesses when collecting, analyzing, publishing statistical data about the United States economy. This numeric coding system is also used for administrative, regulatory, contracting, and for taxation purposes. You also, if you have the product service codes, the PSC, those are used to categorize codes to describe product, services, research, and development purchased by the federal government. Next slide, please. An industry served. All right, that would be a brief listing of clients that you have performed your best work, because these can also turn into references for you. So you want to make sure this is your best work. You also want to include the company's name with their permission. You also want to use their logo because, sometimes people don't know an actual business name, but they use the identifier as the logo, and that could spark interest with a mutual client or competition of that business. And then you want to make sure that you provide a brief description of the value service delivered. Okay. So next slide, please. What is important? This is a really important piece as well as your certifications. So you want to make sure that you clearly list your agency granted certifications. You want it demonstrates your capabilities and your preparedness as a business, your commitment to your profession, allows buyers to easily qualify you. Now, this is a question that myself and Mr. Tenette answer a lot of times about certifications. If you do have them, if you don't have them, we can definitely address those on case-by-case basis and individually, because again, it is a warranted want for you to have certifications if you are trying to pursue governmental contracting. It's always key. Certifications are key, and we can point in the direction of how to work toward the certifications that you're looking to gain. Next slide, please. Our third component is operations and graphic reach. This is important because clients like to know where you're located, especially if their services are not, or they're looking to expand. They want to know if you can expand with them. So it's good to let them know if your reach is local, if it's state, national, and or international. Where's your headquarters located? That speaks a lot as well. How reachable are you if someone is not in the same state you are? They need to know exactly where you're located. If you have any additional offices and what cities those offices are located in. Next slide, please. Now we're going to talk about our fourth and most pivotal piece of the capability statement is why you. We call this value proposition. What I like to call this is the most important piece of the puzzle because it is the passionate piece. Why is it passionate? Because it's the best part of the narrative that you control. It's your value. What you want clients to see in you and see what it is that you offer. Your value proposition is a clear understanding of exactly what products or services your business offers, what your business does, the benefits and advantages that you provide, not the features. Your competitor offers features. You provide solutions. Help your clients see your value. Let them know, how are you different? Highlight what makes you different from competitors, but it should always focus on how customers define your value. What do you do that's at least 90% better than your competitor? What is your area of excellence? How will you position yourself positively in the mind of your client? What do you do that benefits your customer and that no other individual or company can deliver as well as you do? How will your clients benefit from what you're offering? So again, this is tied in directly to your value proposition. Next slide, please. Well, how is it that you craft your value proposition? You got to know your competitors. If you're going to say you do something 90% better, how is that? How do you do it and how do you consistently deliver on that? Why should potential clients use you instead of the competitor? These are some of the statements that you can help identify your value when you're thinking. One thing that happily surprises people about my business is what? What things are you offering? Again, that is a pleasant surprise that someone 5 miles down the street or 10 miles down the street is not offering. What's a pleasant surprise? Once a client works with me, they discover. What do they discover? Do they discover that everything that you outlined in your capability statement is true? It's misleading, it's false. You want it to be positive, so that's how you help keep yourself grounded in building value. What positive aspects does their discovery lead to? When they hire me for whatever the job is or service that you're offering, in addition, they get what? Again, this makes you stand out differently from your competitor. My company goes above and beyond when it comes to what? So again, these are some questions that you ask yourself when you're crafting your value proposition, because this is the narrative that you control. This is the biggest piece of the puzzle. Of course, references are the second largest, but this one is the most important. You're able to write the story. You're able to talk about the things that you do exceptionally and phenomenally well. That's why it should be the passionate piece. It's the one that grabs everybody's attention, which leads to the next slide. Please. References. References is the other part of the narrative in your proposition statement that you do control. Your references should be a short list of clients and partners that are familiar with your work. A good rule of thumb is to have at least 3 per business line or industry. must give an excellent evaluation of your work. You definitely want someone who can sing your praises and be able to stand firm when people ask questions and give them unbiased opinions about the work and relationship that you have with them. Let your references know what you would like for them to talk about. So you can throw out some ideas. Talk about on the project or the job that I did, some of the challenges, how I came up with the solution. What was my impact? What was the positive takeaway from the whole job that I did? What are some of the results? Did I have some savings? Did I save you money? Did I help your company improve, evolve? Was the job done on time? Did you leave the project on good terms? That's always key. If a person will hire you or want you to come back or want you to consult with something. So that will probably be the first question that I would ask somebody to make sure that they reiterate that I left on great terms. Are you still doing work for or with them? You want to make sure that you don't throw your references out there blindly. You want to make sure that you've had this conversation, you've gone over some of these things, and you want to make sure, because your capability statement is public, that it is okay that you use them as a reference. So they will be prepared if future clients reach out to them. Next slide, please. Now, our final component is experience. Have a great story to tell. So this is another piece that is key when people want to see what your experience is. It's not always qualitative in years and how many years you've done something, but it's kind of what are some of the jobs and who you've done some of the jobs for. It's great if you list the various agencies that you've worked with or certified with. That again ties into the certification piece. So again, list various agencies that you have worked with or certified with. This demonstrates your knowledge of procurement practices. Next slide, please. Now, we're going to pull it all together. I know that, like I said, we were keeping this lean and mean, but what I empower you to do is collect the information that's presented here in this presentation. I also empower you to go back and look at the capability statement. We did some work webinars some weeks ago, as well as this one today is just solidifying and getting down to the nuts and bolts of what you should be looking at and classifying for your capability statement at this time. Create brief messages in bulleted or short sentence formats. You want to select a document design for your format. You will look out there are thousands of capability statements out there. You have some that are very visually pleasing, some that are straight down to the business that have no pictures or images. Again, this is your snapshot. This is your sometimes one and done chance that you have to impress someone. So you want to make sure that it's anesthetically and visibly pleasing to the eye, but also that it is quick, precise, and to the point. You want to make sure that you populate the selection format with your messages and information. You want to make sure the format that you have selected, it comfortably houses the information that you are trying to get across with your capability statement. You don't want it to look jammed or like you have too much, so that might not be the right format if your information is not fitting, or you might have too much information. Anything that is disclosed as optional, then you might not want to put that in. You want to make sure you create a series of drafts, particularly if you're doing outreach to different agencies or prospective clients with different buying needs. So that you definitely don't want to sell a product of talking about custom made shoes and you're talking about custom made dresses. So that's why it's important to tailor to the prospective need of the client. And it's an elevator speech on paper. You don't want to do more than 2 pages. 1 is most impactful. 2 is if you do have some additional things that you just must not leave out, but you do not want to go over 2 pages. You also want to consider saving it in a PDF format. making sure that the links are nice and clean, that you can link from your website and your social media pages and what have you, so clients can potentially look at that. Word documents tend to sometimes forwarding them go wrong, or they become corrupt when sending them, especially to government agencies, because they don't find them as secure. So it's always great to save those in PDF format if possible. Make sure you create a hard and soft copies with links to your website and social media. Next slide, please. So you want to get your winning capability statements into the hands of decision makers and influencers, so that it takes more than just being able to use your website, word of mouth, and social media pages. You got to do a little foot and leg work to get the information out. So next slide, please. When getting the word out, it's definitely one-on-ones. You want to have, again, a one-page document. Not something that's business card size, but something that is a one-page document, front and back. You want to make sure that you attend conferences. You want to make sure that you are going to trade shows, pre-bid conferences, educational events, and staying connected with agencies like MBDA Amplify, where we can help you make sure you stay in the connection and loop with networking events that we have here going on with MBDA Amplified and HCC. Next slide, please. Now that brings us to our questions and answers. I'm sure some guys have put some questions in the chat for us out there. We have any questions?
Hey, Joni, can I just make one sort of wrap up statement before we go to questions?
Absolutely, yes.
So first of all, I want to thank you for an excellent job of delivering kind of those crucial pieces that are necessary to build an effective capability statement. And so this is to our audience. You know, I know many of us don't like to brag about ourselves and talk about all the great things that we do. So I'm going to ask you sort of to put that aside for the moment when you go to build your capability statement, because this is your opportunity to demonstrate to the world how great and capable you are. And because the whole idea is that if you're not going to toot your own horn, you can't expect somebody else to. And this capability statement is just a wonderful tool to put in front of people and share with people that really help them understand how great you are and how you can be a great resource to their agency. All right, Joni, I'll turn it back to you. Thanks.
All right. Do we have any questions out there this morning, ladies?
I think the one question I saw was somebody asked about are there any templates? Do we have any templates?
Well, there are. When you go out there are several templates. You have some that are precise. You have some that are lengthy. When you go out there and you see capability statements, you get a lot of mixed reviews about business card size or a regular piece of paper size where it's front and back. You can't get your capability statement across and be impactful, show that passion on a business card. And you don't want to hand that to somebody at a trade show or somewhere and they sit it down and you can't put anything that's visually pleasing. So you want to make sure that you're using a template that will be able to speak to your craft and your vision, your business. So you can Google out there. It's all sorts of templates. You just want to stick to the one for the services that you use.
Yeah, and then I would piggyback on that. Google would be a great resource. But then you might, but once you decide what, I love that word you use, visually pleasing, because that's really what this is about. Something that's that stands out and jumps off the page. But you also might want to use the website Canva, canva.com, and I know they make available a number of free presentation templates that you might want to avail yourselves to.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions out there?
Here's a question. What is the most common mistake writing a capability statement?
I would say probably the top ones are probably people are not being brief in sort of their description of what they do. I've helped people write their resumes and write other sort of marketing material. And one of the most powerful things that you can do is attach something quantitative to the various statements that you make. Led a team of 500 people, helped company increase profits by X%, increase productivity by X%, or decrease bad stuff and increase good stuff. So I think that is very, very powerful, because people, when they're scanning your document, the words sort of run together, but it's those numbers, how we quantify our successes, is what jumps off the page. Another common mistake, unfortunately, is people don't get the NAICS or the NIGP codes correctly. Yeah. So even though people want to understand what industries you serve, big time procurement folks, whether it be government or commercial, they live in the world of NAICS and NIGP codes. So so I would highly recommend that you maybe triple check that to make sure that you're using the correct ones. And then probably one other thing is alignment, right? So let's say you're a digital marketing agency, right? And you've created this fabulous this fabulous capability statement. But then I go to your social media presence, and I go to your LinkedIn, maybe your Facebook, something like that, to find out a little bit more about you. And all you talk about is commercial cleaning. Now, nothing wrong with commercial cleaning, but you're out of alignment between what your capability statement says and then what your social media presence stands for. So the short answer is, make sure that whatever you have in your capability statement, in terms of how you're positioning your business or your personal brand, make sure that's aligned with the other components and elements that people can readily get to, meaning your social media presence. So I'd say those are probably the big ones.
Austin, would you recommend just having one capability statement, or would you recommend coming up with several different types?
Yeah, that's a fabulous question. And so, as you know, in another life, I worked with a lot of people who were in career search or career change mode. And so with them, I always recommended to custom fit their resume to the specific role that they are applying for. And I'll tell you, I don't think it's very much different here, because as we said earlier in the conversation, capability statement is the resume of your business. And as we know with resumes, we don't put everything that we've ever done in there, but we just focus on the highlights. And so as you're working across different agencies, or as you're responding to different bids and that sort of thing, I would highly recommend that you, and it's probably not necessary to go back and redo the entire thing, but think about those key areas that would be responsive to that particular request for proposal or request for information. So might you change the folks you use as references? Might you change maybe some of your client success stories so that it is more responsive to that specific one? So maybe you might end up changing maybe 20. Maybe you have a standard template for your capability statement, but then as you move through various procurements, you might change 10 to 20%. So it, again, helps improve your chances and looks like you're more responsive. Thanks, Tanya, for asking that.
Ms. Joni, that was some great information you provided. There is a question here. Someone would love to schedule a meeting to go over their capability statement. And I do show that they have, when do you have office hours?
All right, fantastic question. And since you have your capability statement ready, that makes it rolls even better for myself and Mr. Tenette. Now, our office hours are the following Monday after the presentation. We do have office hours on Wednesday of this week. So if you would like, our office hours on Monday start at 10 o'clock a.m. and we end them about noon. What we do the first time, we everyone who wants to chat with us, we schedule a Teams meeting. We send you an invite. We kind of do kind of like a round robin session, so you can hear some of the questions, because today we're not, you're not on the side where you're a panelist and are able to talk and we can make the visual connection with you. But somebody might have the question that you have, and that person might have a question that you have. And so after the preliminary, we said individual, because we want to know what it is and how we can help you and what you need to bring to your individualized meeting with us. So we have an option that on Wednesday, we don't start office hours until after 1 o'clock. So you would email myself and Mr. Tenette, both of us, and you would just say, I would like to chat with you guys on either next Monday, or you want to chat with us on this Wednesday. We don't do, the first initial point is no longer than 30 to 45 minutes. And then we schedule an hour with you in your following appointment. Okay. If you have your capability statement ready, please go ahead and email it to us. That will be great, so we can provide you feedback in real time when we have the meeting with you.
Absolutely great. And then we always give homework, right, Ms. Hall?
We do. We do.
Have to reinforce all that good learning and stuff that we share.
Absolutely. Again, today it was lean. We do have a previous video where we did this, and there are a couple of things in there. There are things that at some people are not at that point of need those things, or they're not things that per se that you have to have. But I would advise you to review that and review this one. If you have questions, we will do one-on-one. Again, we'll review your capability statement. Sometimes people have business plans and they want to convert, take some of that information and build a capability statement. If you're stuck and need to know some help with that, we're more than glad to help you make the crossover with that as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good, powerful point you made there, Joni, in terms of starting with a business plan if they haven't, and then extracting some key elements out of there to pull into the capability statement. Yeah, so it's a matter of reduction. That's a great point. One other question we had: can I use experience from another job as past performance? The answer is absolutely. In fact, it's expected, because oftentimes when we're first starting our business, we may be leaving a career or have plans to leave a career that's going to be the foundation for our independent business or our entrepreneurial effort going forward. And so people often say, well, I don't have any clients. Well, that don't let that be a hindrance, because you can definitely demonstrate that you have skills and ability in this particular space. And oftentimes people make the decision to go out on their own because they've excelled in that particular professional endeavor inside of another entity, in an organization or corporation. And then we all come to the realization, wow, I could be doing this for myself and either making more money or having a little bit more control over my schedule. So so the expectation is, yes, we would expect you to use past work experience as a demonstration of your capability in this particular area. It's a great question.
And you can also use those for your NAICS and your NIGP codes too. So do not take for granted your past experience.
That's right. Very important. Very important.
Any other questions?
Well, I have a question for the group. So because I'm a business coach, I never like to end a workshop or discussion without a clear next step. So I'd like to ask the group, and just throw this in the chat room, but based on what we've shared here, what is the next action that you individually plan to take in the next 24 hours to move yourselves closer to either starting your capability statement, completing it, or putting it into the hands of somebody who can make a procurement discussion? So please jot down in the chat room what your next action is in the next 24 hours. because and Ms. Hall and I have talked about this many times. So putting together, becoming certified is a challenging process, but it's not a difficult process. It's kind of working from a checklist of things that you need to collect, and then putting them into the format of whatever the certification entity likes to see them in. So a lot of it is just really sort of lists of things that you probably already have in your binder or in your files, but it's just getting it out of your files and into the document. So because sometimes the list can be rather lengthy. Thank you, Richard. I was going to schedule a meeting with us and team to review our current capability statements for suggestions. Okay, I think that's a great next step. Thank you for being brave and sharing and committing to the crowd, allowing us to hold you accountable, Richard.
Okay, I see updating one there. Okay, excellent step.
Thanks, Action Jackson.
Hey, Tiffany. All right.
Ms. Hall, you're very popular. Everybody wants to meet you. They all want to get on your calendar.
Well, this is my passionate piece because I don't like to talk about myself personally, but talk about my business. Mm-hmm. And so this is where I think a strong suit in being able to help, because it's just like when you have a conversation. When you talk to somebody, if you don't have them in the first 8 seconds, what do you have? And that's the same thing. You don't want to hand somebody or electronically send your capability statement and somebody opens it and they move on to the next thing. So I am passionate about helping people make the improvements or get started. So excellent. This is the piece of the puzzle that is the most instrumental.
There you go. And so I want to respond to Presley. Presley, you said in the chat room, you don't have much to say. We are a nonprofit. We are a new business, and I'm just here learning. And I think that's great and welcome, because this is exactly why MBDA Amplified exists, to help startups and newer businesses. And if you, as I'm sure you're well aware, a not-for-profit is a business just like a for-profit business. It's more around how do you treat your tax liability. But I would use this as an opportunity to begin to fine-tune the articulation of what you stand for as a not-for-profit. So many years ago, I was listening to a representative from the United Way. And as you know, the United Way sponsors a number of not-for-profits financially and through program building. And the individual that spoke to us, she said that they often encourage people not to start not-for-profits and to maybe partner up with an existing one because there's so many out there. Now, I'm not suggesting that you do that, but what I am suggesting is you use kind of some of the keys that Ms. Hall shared earlier in the presentation to fine-tune your message as it relates to who you will serve as a not-for-profit, how will you serve them, and then what are your expectations of the community to participate in, to help you create a winning organization. So so think of what we talked about today as a building block, not just for people who want to do government contracting, but for people in not-for-profits as well. Because at some point in time, you're going to ask somebody for some money to help you support your not-for-profit. And so a capability statement, as we've described here, maybe with a few little tweaks, could be a very, very powerful statement to convey your strategy, most importantly, the why of your not-for-profit. So thanks for posting that comment. Okay.
More questions?
Yeah, we got Jacqueline Franklin who wants to one-on. Ms. Hall, we're going to be busy. We've got a lot of people who want to get on our calendar.
I love. Very good.
This is a
follow through. So don't
just
say it today. Make the appointment. We really want to connect with you.
Right. And then Ben said he's going to gather up all the documents with the necessary information to start on the capability statement. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Is create a checklist, and sometimes you create a checklist and then pull it all together and then start. Because if you start without having anything pulled together, you're back and forth, and that's just probably not the best way to run that as a project. Okay, let's see. Some thank yous. Thank you for being here. And the email address, you'll see that our email address is right here on this last slide at the very bottom, joni.hall and austin.tenette. There we go. Okay, great. Thank you. There we go. Okay, good.
If we don't see any more questions, I think we can conclude the webinar. So on behalf of Director Turner, I wanted to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. And please don't forget to register for the next webinar. It's going to be Sourcing Opportunities for Your Business. It's going to be on April 17. So do we have any final remarks, Ms. Joni, Mr. Tenette?
Well, I want to thank everybody for taking their time this morning to join us. And I'm just going to say, I think Houston is one of the greatest pro-business cities in the country. I mean, not many cities have the amount of pro bono business advising, technical assistance that we have in this city. So the only crime that's committed here is that people that don't take advantages of all of the great services that we have to provide here as a city and as a community. Thanks.
Absolutely. Yes. Again, thank you. Remember our office hours. We have hours this week after 1 p.m. on Wednesday. So please specify in your email if Wednesday or you want the following Monday from 10 a.m. to 12 o'clock noon. Okay. So we look forward to the connect. We're going to hold everybody accountable in the chat that said that they want to meet, because if you don't find us, we will find you.
And then this one last reminder. So I know Jessica will be sending something out here in the next week or so here, but our next session on your journey towards certification is going to be 2 weeks from today. And that session is going to be sourcing opportunities for your business. So we're going to talk about where you go to find different opportunities within the agencies, about opportunities that are perfect for you and your business enterprise.
Absolutely. Excited to tell you about those opportunities. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Tanya. We appreciate your help as always. Stellar part of the team.
Okay, everybody have a great week.